Hi, welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice every day and share my tips so we can all get better at the casino. Today we're going to talk about the back wall. What's the deal with it? We're talking about when you hit it, when you miss it. We're going to talk about cruises and why that's important. And also, I'm going to talk about day 9. Day 9 throw right up here. I'm going to show my video of me throwing in a fast pace. We're getting close. We're getting super close to Vegas. I'm super excited. I can't wait to share the numbers with you total on how I'm doing and compared to the old way, what we did 90 days ago. And remember, I was doing this before I started the recording. I did 10 days of 36 throws to get a number so that I could use these 10 days at the end to see if I improved at all, and I hope I did. So what are we talking about today? Back wall. One, why was it put up? Do you think back in the day it was put up because it was such a flat surface that the casinos said we got to do something to disrupt the throw so that it will be more random? Well, yeah, they did. So using the history of these little spikes at the end, were there some control throwers, or were there people that were narrowing down how to throw on those back walls, which were probably like felt back then, and people saying, hey, we have to do something to disrupt it? So sure enough, they put the pyramids up there. We've been working with pyramids ever since, and we still have control throwers out there. So what's the deal with it? They're going to make you hit that back wall. For whatever reason, if you don't hit that back wall, they start yelling at you, and in so that they may say, hey, sir, both dice have to hit the back wall. Now, what happens if you're a control thrower and you don't hit the back wall? Well, back in the day with control throwers, right, it would behoove us to not hit the back wall, because if we just rolled it up, supposedly it would stay on axis, which is almost impossible because there's chips there. There's all kinds of stuff playing with it. In our modern day controlled dice, we're anticipating hitting that back wall just because it's a rule and it makes sense. So we practice to that, and that's how we roll. So my favorite story is we're at a casino and there's an older gentleman, and we're getting to the table and we're watching, and this older gentleman was not hitting the back wall. He was barely getting it to here. He was just throwing it up there. And the dude had to be 85, 90 years old. He had a chair and he wanted to throw and he could barely get down there. And we, of course, jumped on that, because if they're not going to complain about him hitting the back wall, we're like, I'm in on this money. And but we were waiting for him to hit a point, and he kept going and going. And finally, we hear one of the dealers in the side talking to the other dealer. He's like, "Hey, isn't he supposed to hit the back wall?" And the guy's like, "Shh, he's been here for 100 years. He's allowed to do that." So I love the fact that they were letting this guy do what he wanted to do, because one, he probably earns them a lot of money, but two, they respected the guy coming to their casino year in, year out, and if that's what he wants to do, he's going to do it. So uh, it was a great experience for us to see that. So the back wall, our nemesis and our friend, right? We practice to it. Different types of back walls, different types of spikes. Not everybody has the same one. Not everybody has the same type of table, right? They can be bouncy, they could be stiff, they could be just right, and we have to adapt to it. And we have to adapt to the back wall. That's why, of course, my first 5 throws, I'm trying to dead cat see how far back that wall is, so that I know my muscle memory. I just have to back off a couple inches so that it'll hit up and down, right? So I want to hit the back wall. I want both of them to hit exact same time up and down. And now I know those pyramids are going to cause a problem. So you just have to anticipate that this is a random game. We're trying to decrease the randomness. We're not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But what happens if you're short? If you're short on that throw, immediately apologize. Hey, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll hit the back wall next time. You didn't do it on purpose. You know your throws are not meant for shorting it. So make sure you apologize so that they're not going to come up on you. And I'm always like, I want to hit that back wall. Trust me. There's no reason for me not to. I'm not going to change my throw if they don't mind you hitting the back wall, because I have a plan, and I don't want the dice, not doing what I anticipate them doing. So that's one. Two, what if you do miss, apologize. But also, too, know that you're a controlled thrower, so already when you're setting your dice, they've already starting to roll, get into a negative image of you. So you don't want to be here sitting here throwing, and then you short it, right? And they're like, sir, that's once again something that they're recognizing you. You want to just, rip and grip and rip, right? You don't want to think. You just want to throw it, and you don't want to call attention to yourself. You want it to be that they are thinking, not thinking that you're a guy who practices every day. I want you to have them thinking, I want you to go fast, but I want them thinking that you're a guy that just went on a YouTube video and saw how to do it, and now you're trying it at the casino for the first time. That's what I want you doing. So when they don't hit the back wall, apologize. Be very good tippers, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. I think the more positive energy you create in the room, the better off you'll be as a control thrower. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So back wall, being incognito, just making sure you don't call attention to yourself, and not hitting that back wall is a big deal. And it is a big thing they're going to call you out immediately on, okay? They may also say you got to throw faster. If they say anything to you one way or another, you just thank them. Say, hey, you're right. I'll get it next time. I'm sorry. And if you miss it twice and they start saying, sir, you're going to have to hit the back wall or we're going to pass the dice, you have to make sure you're hitting that back wall. So I'm not anticipating you chucking it down there, but you have to get back to your basics, right? So that your muscle memory, you did a dead cat, hopefully, so you know how far your back wall needs to be, and you have to make sure. But if you do a couple times and you're still not hitting the back wall, just come off one. Just be off, and then just rip it. Just make sure everybody's off, and then rip it to make sure you're hitting the back wall. Once again, try and dead cat so that you can get your muscles back into business. One of my favorite back wall stories is my buddy right here in Craps Crew. We're at a casino, and he is Shorty McShort. I mean, he's not even coming close to hitting the back wall. And there, sir, you have to hit the back wall. Sir. And so the second time, same thing. Short, didn't hit either one, didn't hit the back wall. He's all the way over here. Sir, if you don't hit the back wall, we're going to take the dice away from you. You're going to need to hit the back wall. Third time up, he shorted it again, and he just said, I pass the dice. So I got the dice in the middle of his roll, because he was rolling for a little bit before he was having this yips. So I've never seen anything like that. They pass him the dice, and he goes, that's it, I'm moving on. And so I got the dice next, which I wasn't prepared for, but it was funny. He just gave up. So instead of just slamming it into the back wall, he says, "I'm done." So good for him. He recognizes he wasn't doing it right. He was out of sorts. He needed to give up the dice just because his mental game wasn't there, and he was able to recognize it. So good for you, my partner. Good for you. So the last thing I want to talk about is cruises. They require, all the cruise ships got together, I guess, and decided, I don't know if everyone, if somebody doesn't have a cruise ship that has this rule, please let me know. The cruise ship requires you to hit the back wall with both dice, or it's a no roll. And you know, I'm going to be honest with you. We've played, the dice crew, the craps crew has played on cruise ships, and I'm going to tell you that's probably the worst rule, and that's probably why they don't do it in Atlantic City or Vegas. There's some kind of number, there's some kind of statistician out there that says, instead of making it a mandatory rule, you should just yell at them and have them pass the dice if they can't do it after 2 or 3 times. Because we've noticed that every time we miss that back wall, it didn't hit twice. Not every time, but statistically, it just seems like we throw a 7. So if you're a control thrower and you practice every day, right, and you're down here throwing, you're anticipating hitting that back wall every single time, right? And when you don't, it seems like I7. If I'm missing it, it's not a good throw. If I'm missing that back wall, I didn't get both dice on axis. I didn't get it off my fingers. One was off, one was not. Whatever the case is, it was not a good throw. And don't you know that craps crew? We noticed, we're like, oh my God. They go, no throw. Well, it was a 7. We're like, yes, good no throw. So then we'd go again, and then we'd hit a point, or we hit an 8 or whatever. And I'm like, this could be a good thing, because if you screw up your throw, the cruise ship we seem to flourish on a cruise ship, because the throw seems to, if it doesn't go right, we are going to miss with 1 dice or 2. So I loved it. I just thought that was a great thing. Yeah, sometimes the point comes up that you're going to hit and they say no throw, but more times than not, it was a bad throw. So we threw poor, it was a poor throw. So, hey, whatever happens, that's what happens in a cruise ship. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe and like. I'm starting to get more and more people on board. I'm starting to get to the end of my 90 days. And don't worry, when I get to Vegas, I'm gonna be sharing videos on how I'm doing while I'm there. And also, too, moving forward from the video, I have about 50 more things to talk about that I didn't get to in my 90 days. So I'll put out a couple a week just to keep going with this. I'm going to be practicing every day anyway, so might as well share in the joy. So join me tomorrow when we talk about tipping. Talk about making sure the positive energy is going on in the room. What is tipping all about? I'll talk about it tomorrow. So in the meantime, my best betting strategy, as I end every video with, is to make sure you practice for 90 days, so when you go to Vegas, you can roll for a long, long time.